is a sight for my soul.
Infinite banking concept and paying off debt. Getting rid of the debt I have. How do I use this concept for paying down debt in particular? Pretty simple. So firstly, the infinite banking concept revolves around what? Using a cash value life insurance policy as a financing tool. A unique feature to a life insurance policy, let's just call it life policy here, is that once a dollar passes through a policy, once it passes through the cash value, that dollar is now forever at work for me. So if I put a dollar into the cash value, say that cash value is earning 5%, regardless if I just let that dollar sit and grow and earn 5%, or if I pull it out, I'm going to continue to yield that same 5% appreciation as if I never touched that dollar in the first place. So how that works with debt is very similar to using a line of credit, maybe a home equity line of credit, to clear high interest debt. For example, if I have a policy, let's just assume it's earning 5%. That's my yield. I have debt at 10%. Maybe it's credit cards, student loans, something else. What I literally can do is if I say, okay, my debt balance is 100K, I can either start to aggressively pay down that debt, or I can flow it through the policy first. So if I get 100K in the policy, what this will do now is that 100K is forever at work for me, regardless if I let it sit there and grow, or if I pull it out, I have no lost opportunity cost on that. That's the key point. So now, when I pull out the 100K from the policy to pay off my debt, what happens? Well, the debt's gone. I no longer have a 10% interest cost that goes to the institution. I'm still earning 5% on the policy. One thing to clarify, if I borrow directly from my policy, there is a cost of borrowing. That's the loan interest expense. Depending on the company, you'll usually see them range from about 5 to 6%. Okay, so in case you feel like that little description was all over the place, let's look at a quick spreadsheet here. So what we have is an example of a 35-year-old male paying $20,000 into a policy for 20 years. We can make this 5 years, we can make it forever. Doesn't really matter. What we're modeling here is growth. Anytime we look at a loan, compare that loan scenario to the growth scenario first. This way I can see what my loan interest costs, everything are. So on the left, what do I have? Again, we always emphasize policy design. By year 5, I've paid in 100. I've got over 100. Cash rich upfront, 80% plus. That means I have access to that much equity in the beginning. So if I want to start pulling from it sooner than later to consolidate the debt, I can do that. Now, we're going to assume I have debt over here. Let's say that these are student loans. It can really be anything we want it to be. Is here I have a debt service of $120,000 that I want to pay. And this is year 7. Depending on my debt balance, if it's 15 grand, I can wipe it out in the first year. This is just year 7 to make this model simple. I pull out the 120. First thing I want to look at is, okay, if I pulled out 120, I use this to pay off my debt. That debt is now gone. I don't have to worry about it anymore. I can take the cash flow from that debt to repay this policy loan if I want. But the debt's now gone, and I have a personal loan through my life insurance policy, which, if you've watched our other segment, we're not required to pay back. Here we're going to pay it back. Before we model the repayments, Look at the examples here. In year 7, the growth model compared to the loan model. I borrow against the cash value. That's the gauge that I can actually borrow from. It's not the death benefit. That's when my cash value decreases. If I pull out $120,000, I've only got another $26,000 available. Now my death benefit will reduce dollar for dollar when I take out a loan. That's what the insurance company is going to hold as collateral. Remember, they're still going to pay you, the policyholder, dividends and interest on the money you have in cash and the $120 you pulled out as if you never touched it in the first place. Remember, once a dollar passes through a policy, that dollar's at work for us forever. Now here, we begin to pay it back at $1,500 a month. We're assuming this was a student loan and we just redirected our payments towards the policy loan. The loan interest rate here is 5%. So there is a cost of borrowing. The excess funds, the interest, went to the insurance company. Now, even though they're collecting interest on it, they're still paying the interest. A lot of times it will create a wash, maybe on slightly negative or slightly positive. We can easily run those returns, no problem. Key point of emphasis here, using it to clear the debt. If I repay the policy loan, this is after my debt's gone, whether it's credit cards, student loans, mortgages. What happens when the policy loan's paid back? What you'll find, and this will be the case with any cash value life insurance policy, if it's direct or non-direct recognition, you'll see a little bit of a difference. But in the example here, just let it sit and grow. I've got $450,000 in cash. The example on the other side, I pulled money out. So if that was in a 5% bank account, if you pull money out of that 5% bank account, it's no longer going to stay at work for you. In a life insurance policy, that's not the case. Even though I pulled it out, I continued to yield that appreciation, and when it's paid back, I see my cash and death benefit 100% restored to exactly what it would have been as if I never touched it in the first place. So I cleared the debt. Whatever my debt was, I flowed the money through a policy first, kept it at work for me, wiped the debt out, and then I redirected my attention to the policy loan, which is optional. When that debt was paid off, that policy loan, I've now recaptured all of that time value of money, the interest. It's all back to work for me. So I can keep everything going forward. I don't lose time in this solution.